Ben and I recorded this episode of the podcast on Sunday, April the 21st, 2019. We start out the show talking about George St. Pierre and the current landscape of the UFC welterweight division because we got a featured question about GSP, and so that kind of spilled over into us talking about all of the welterweights in general. Following that, we recapped UFC Fight Night 149, which was headlined by Alistair Overeem and Alexei Oleinik, and we talked about the two big winners from there mainly, which was Alistair Overeem and Islam Makhachev. We changed the structure of our podcast a little bit for this episode because Ben and I agreed to do a topic, which was our top 3 champions in each weight class. I did UFC only, Ben did all promotions, so that was fun, and we hope that you guys enjoy the little change up that we did there. And then we closed the show with our picks for the main event of UFC Fight Night 150, which is Jacare Souza versus Jack Hermansson. There's a lot of good stuff in this episode, a lot of name mispronunciations by me of the fighters, so I apologize for that. But regardless, Ben and I had a lot of fun, and we can't wait for you guys to hear this episode. So here is episode number 5 of The Fight Addicts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Fight Addicts. Get ready to explore the past, present, and future of MMA with your hosts, Seth Oliver and Ben Korn.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 5 of The Fight Addicts. If this is your first time hearing about us, check out our blog at thefightAddicts.com and stay up to date with us by following @TheFightAddicts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, on whatever platform you're listening on, be sure to like and subscribe to us. And if you enjoy what you hear today, please leave us a 5-star review. As always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Mr. Ben Korn. Ben, how you doing today?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just got done watching all of the prelims from Overeem and Oleinik.
Nice. Did you like them?
Yeah. A lot of bangers in there.
Yeah, they really were.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, let's go ahead and start with our featured comment of the week. So this week's comment is by GucciG413 on Instagram. So this was the video of Khabib talking about his future matchup with Dustin Poirier.
Yes.
And the comment was, why is he avoiding Dylan Dennis?
That's a good comment.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Ben, why do you think he is avoiding Dylan Dennis?
Yeah, probably
Who wins that fight? Does Dennis tap him, or does Khabib just wrestle him to the decision?
I'm pretty sure that Khabib has his way with him. Yeah, I think that the reason that doesn't happen is for legal reasons. Because there was an assault, and did they press charges in that at all, or were they like, no, we're just gonna?
I know that Connor did not press charges. That was a deal.
But did Dylan Dennis press charges? Because he's the one that got drop kicked.
I don't know. I don't think that he did. I feel like we would have heard about it, or like it would have
still been playing out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
so I
good
think
for
it all
him.
kind of.
That's like the one good move. Did you see him at the press conference for Bellator, Dennis?
No.
Had this Geordie LaForge visor on.
I didn't.
Ugh.
Oh, wait. Is this the one where he's wearing the glasses?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw highlights of it, like bits and pieces of it.
Man, if Bellator is pretty good at like ruining prospects. Like a lot of times, if you tune into Bellator and there's somebody who's like this highly touted dude, it's like they get caught a lot. Aaron Pico is the case in point. But yeah, so the thing about it is when you have somebody like Dylan Dennis, who's this guy that everybody wants to see lose. Yeah, Bellator's kind of a good place to see him lose eventually.
Is it sad that I kind of want to see him win, though?
Yeah, it is sad. It's
Just
wrong.
so
It's wrong of you.
See, guys like him and Colby Covington, I want them to win.
Two different guys.
It's really good talking points for us. I just enjoy the whole factor. It's not necessarily that I'm a fan, but
those are two very different guys, Colby and Dylan Dennis.
Who wins that fight? Because they're both at 170.
Colby would kill him. Colby would murder him.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
All right, so our feature question of the week, which is questions that you guys send in to us, either through Instagram or Twitter or any of our social media platforms. However you want to get it to us, feel free to. We actually have 2 questions this week. So one was sent in by my friend George that sent us one in last week. He said, what is your predictions for Adesanya versus Whitaker whenever that fight happens? Ben, I'll let you lead off.
Whitaker stops him.
early on, or do they make it into the championship rounds?
The third round. In between the first and the third. Because I've heard him talking about it. And I mean, I know that everybody just talks about it, but like he had like a pretty good explanation of like, well, Kelvin showed you how to hit him, and I've gone 10 minutes with, or I've gone
50 minutes.
50 minutes. I've gone 10 rounds with Yoel Romero. Yeah, like Kelvin really gave you like the answer of how to beat him, and yeah, so I think that Whitaker gets it done. It does kind of play out in like an interesting way as to where that fight takes place. Is there a venue for that yet?
The Dana White said that it will definitely be scheduled in, I don't know if it's like Australia or New Zealand. It's one of those places.
Yeah, that's
I think
what
Australia.
I'm saying. Yeah.
I think it's Australia.
Yeah. You've just offended so many people. Yeah.
Sorry to our 1% of Australian fans out there listening.
Yeah. Sorry to all the New Zealand fans out there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so the thing with Adesanya is Kelvin really showed you that if you got a good chin and you're willing to engage him and you got quick hands, all of the things that Whitaker kind of presents. I wish that Whitaker had fought Kelvin.
Me too.
Already.
Especially after seeing the Adesanya fight. It really makes me sad that fight got canceled. But
something tells me we might wind up seeing that fight.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen was talking about how he thinks those three guys are going to kind of circle around the top for a while, and we'll probably see like, sort of like a round robin between just different matchups of the three fighting each other.
To try and fight Yoel Romero again? Is that what this is for? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So my prediction for that fight, it's funny that he asked that because I actually texted Ben. This is no joke. I had a dream about this fight this week, probably on Thursday night, I think it was. The dream was that Adesanya comes out and does like it wasn't a wheel kick, but it was like a spinning back kick to the face, and it breaks through Whitaker's guard, and he falls up against the cage, and like it's a walk-off knockout. Do I think that'll happen? No. I think that looking at the two fighters, Whitaker, I would definitely say is the better fighter. Like you said, he was going 10 rounds with Yoel Romero and won both of those fights. In my opinion, I know the second fight was kind of controversial, but I had Whitaker 3 rounds to 2. Either way, he's such an impressive guy, very well-spoken, great champion. I think that he should get it done, but like I said in the last podcast, with all the hype around Adesanya, I do kind of have sort of like a Conor McGregor feeling going into the Aldo fight, where we might see something freaky.
It's different.
It's different.
He showed you that he's not going to do it to him freaky style, though. Like in his last 2 fights, he went up against Anderson Silva, who, while he is, GOAT status, it's not like...
It's not prime Silva.
Yeah, it's not prime Silva, and it's not like you haven't seen anybody just put him, like Chris Weidman put him out. Like, so Adesanya couldn't put him out when he was tagging him, and then Kelvin just kind of ate he got hurt a couple times. He hurt Kelvin a few times, but like for the majority of that fight, Kelvin showed no regard for his striking power, just so that he could get to where he could get a shot in.
He's definitely like Diaz, and just more like touch, like not a bunch of power shots, like Nate Diaz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So gun in my head, Whitaker wins the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's a small chance we might see something very weird and bizarre at that fight, especially where it's taking place somewhere down in the land down under. So
okay, yeah.
All right, so let's get into our recap of UFC Fight Night 149, Overeem versus Oleinik.
What was the other question?
Oh, I'm glad you pointed that out. Other question was from a very special guy in my life.
Yeah.
Named Michael Oliver, who is my dad. He commented on our YouTube video. He said, I have a question for Ben and Seth. Is George St. Pierre retired from fighting for good, or will he fight again? If he will fight again, who do you guys think will be on the other side of the octagon? Since you started out with the last one, I'll start out with this one. I think that the only way that we could see George St. Pierre come back would be a Khabib fight or a Ben Askren fight.
Yeah.
Do I think that he beats both of those? I would say it probably depends on how long of a layoff it is. If we're talking like next year, like a Khabib fight, I would say that George wins it.
What
Same
weight
thing
class?
for Askren.
170?
I think that George would cut down to 55 for the Khabib fight.
Just for the brutality of it?
Mm-hmm.
So that
And he'd become the first triple
champ.
Yep. If anybody could do it, it'd be George. I'm pretty sure that wasn't he like cutting weight a while back? Like to get down to 55?
He's toyed with it before.
Right.
But like, I don't know, man. I just sort of feel like if they go down, first off, it's the same argument that I used against him having that fight with Bisping at 185.
Neither of those fights should happen.
Yeah.
Except for the Askren, if it's like a non-title, just like a 5-round main event. That would be cool because since
But
it's
see,
at 170.
he has an actual legitimate, like, I should get a title shot at 170. I never lost my belt at 170. I haven't lost since Matt
07.
Serra.
I want to say that fight happened in 07.
Yeah. So, yeah, I deserve a title shot. He can say that at 170 at any point that he wants. But I think the only point that he would do that is if some weird thing happens and Ben Askren is the champion by, like, the end of 2019.
Which is very possible. If he beats Masvidal, they have to give him a title shot, I would say. Because Masvidal's ranked 5th. And
They
the fact
have
that
to
he's
give him
Ben
a title
Askren-
shot? No, they don't have to give him a title shot.
So, like, Colby fights Usman.
Yeah.
All right, whoever the winner of that would be, because honestly, I think that's going to be a lot closer fight than most people think. Whoever wins that, I would say that the next like contender fight is the Askren-Masvidal fight taking place in July. So, like, those two winners will face off.
What about Leon Roberts? Where's he?
Leon Edwards.
Leon. What about that ref? What about Leon Roberts? Big guy.
He's still ranked like 10th. I mean, he's a great fighter. I just don't think that he has the markability.
What's the
they're
rankings? Do you have the rankings?
I do have the rankings.
Show me tell me what the welterweight rankings are, because I still feel like Askren, as much as I love the idea of him getting a title shot, I don't feel like, okay, let me take it back. If he finishes Masvidal, then absolutely he deserves a title shot. Like, if he bulldog chokes Masvidal unconscious, like, yeah, he deserves a title
odds?
shot.
Yeah.
You know? But, like, I really think that he's probably going to just hump him for 25 minutes. And, like, it's not that that's not impressive, because it is, but it should not be rewarded. You should have to be John Fitch. You've won. You've cleaned out the divisions. Like, there's no one left to fight the champion, and you're on like a 12-fight winning streak of just destroying people via your lay and pray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the current welterweight rankings right now: Kamaru Usman is the champion. Number 1 is Tyron Woodley. Number 2 is Colby Covington. Number 3 is Ralphie Dos Nachos. Sorry, Rafael Dos Anjos. Number 4 is Jorge Masvidal. 5 is Ben Askren. 6 is Darren Till. 7 is Stephen Thompson. That's why that was funny. I was like, Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy. Number 8 is Anthony Pettis. I have no idea why he's ranked below him if he just knocked him out. Number 9 is Santiago Ponzinibbio. Number 10 is Robbie Lawler. And then number 11 is Leon Edwards. And then by 12, you're at Damian Maia.
Wow.
So,
Goodness.
and just to finish it out, 13 is Neil Magny, 14 is Elizu Dos Santos. I hope I pronounced his name right. And then 15 is Vicente Luque.
Okay. Yeah. Has Ponzinibbio, I guess you can't look it up, but Ponzinibbio is always dangerous.
Yeah.
I feel like if at any point you could just like, you need someone to fill in,
Yeah,
like
he's
say
the
someone
man.
drops out and you're just like, yep, bring us Ponzinibbio. He's going to throw hands.
I'd like to see him fight Pettis at welterweight.
That'd be beautiful.
Yeah. That's what, okay. So
Pettis
we
would
have
lose.
Usman Covington. Yeah. Pettis would lose. Usman Covington, Masvidal Askren, Dos Anjos and Kevin Lee. That's an interesting fight. Darren Till just got arrested. Wonder Boy
he's
got
out.
knocked out.
Yeah,
so
he's
you can
out.
do Pettis and Ponzinibbio, and then Lawler's fighting Woodley.
Yeah.
And then you have Leon Edwards just kind of floating there.
If Lawler, here's what happens. Once you unify Usman and Covington, okay? If Usman wins and Askren wins, you do that fight. You do Marty from Nebraska fight. You do, that's what it is for the entire lead up to it. If they both win, absolutely. If Robbie Lawler beats Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington beats Usman, you redo Askren Lawler to determine who the number one contender is to fight Colby Covington so that you can have Lawler versus Colby, hopefully. Because
You wouldn't want to see the build up to Askren and Colby.
I just think it's going to get dumb. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
It's going to be a whole lot of like corniness.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and to answer your dad's question, because I didn't answer it, you answered it. Pretty much the same as Seth in terms of what I realistically would see him doing. But as far as what I'm okay with, or what I'm like, yeah, that would make me actually want to buy something, is if he said like tomorrow he's going to fight Anderson Silva, or they're going to take a time machine pretty much to like 10 years ago and fight each other. But yeah, that's the only fight that I'm really like, that doesn't mess anything up. Nobody is hurt from it, but he's pretty much said that he won't do it because it doesn't really help his legacy, even though it would kind of help his legacy. But the longer he waits to do it, the less it helps his legacy.
Right.
Because other people are already taking the bloom off the rose, Like Michael Bisping beat him. If Michael Bisping beat him, then it's not that good.
Right. I've always thought that argument from George was fair, though, about how he didn't really want to, like when Nate Diaz was offered to him and how he said, well, I mean, this really doesn't, like, help my legacy in any way. I don't really think that's being scared. To me, that's just being smart and kind of taking, like, calculated risk.
Well, with Nate Diaz, it makes sense.
Right.
Because Nate Diaz is not considered one of the greatest of all time. But whenever you say that, yeah, but whenever you just say the same answer to, well, I'm not going to fight Nate Diaz because it's no meaning to my legacy. I'm not going to fight Anderson Silva because it's no meaning to my legacy. It's like, no, those are two apples and oranges by a bajillion. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really impressive if you can beat Anderson Silva. And every month that passes, it becomes less impressive. Back when you were both champions, it would have been put you at undisputed number one until John Jones wins the heavyweight title. But now, since you didn't do that, since you're like, oh, but I won the middleweight title, I took it off of Bisping. It's like, okay, well, all right, we'll give you that,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So I feel like John Jones tops him on the go to mid.
Yeah, all of his controversies aside, as a fighter, he does. Like, to me, George is the most well-rounded, like, the overall GOAT, but just, like, stepping inside the octagon, it's John Jones as a fighter.
I'm just talking resume.
Like, John has one of the best resumes, if not the best.
Yeah. Because of the absence of an actual submission, decision, or knockout loss. To have everybody else that's in the top 10 that you could have possibly fought finished, other than like, he finished Gustafsson the second time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's the thing.
He didn't finish Rashad. There was somebody else.
He just finished his career. He just finished his those elbows. It was those elbows. You remember that? Those tight elbows that he hit Rashad with? Mm-hmm. Rashad should have gone down, and he manned up in a concussed state and finished that fight.
I wonder what Sherdog was doing at that moment. Like what we talked about last week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because, with the whole hatred of Rashad, It did turn back when he fought John Jones because of the build-up to that. Because you couldn't watch those promos without realizing that Rashad got super screwed when John Jones just showed up and Greg Jackson was like, yeah, we're going to train.
Right. And I actually
John.
talked about that in my social media post today because this has been recorded on April the 21st, and this was the anniversary of their fight. And I explained in the post the build up and how it was, supposed to be Rashad fighting for the title, and then he gets injured, Jones fills in, and then they had their friendship and mentor.
And then he ruined his special night because he came in the octagon. Remember that?
All right, let's go ahead and get into the Fight Addicts bonuses for the UFC, for the UFC Fight Night 149 card. So we're renaming the Just Bleed Award to the Griffin Bonner Award because Ben had a really good point. I was thinking Just Bleed isn't a good fight kind of way, but your way made more sense of the actual just bleed and blood everywhere. So we're calling it the Griffin Bonner Award since that's one of the most.
But does Griffin Bonner really represent a good, the best of fighting?
Okay, not the best of fighting, but a good fight that the fans love and a fight that saved the company.
Sorry, I'm just being contrarian at this point, but yeah.
All right, so my Griffin Bonner Award for this week goes to the Roxanne Modafferi versus the Antonina Shevchenko fight. I really enjoyed that fight. I've only watched all the fights once, by the way. So if you're Ben always says, screaming at your iPod right now or something over a fight that was better than that, I'm sorry. But in my memory of it, I really enjoyed that fight, and I actually had Roxanne winning before that, so I felt happy that I got that call.
Oh, good.
And so I sent out a tweet saying that the judges made the right decision, other than the one judge that made the terrible decision. But in saying that, I was meaning that I'm happy that Roxanne got the decision because she deserved it.
Right. Yes. My fight of the night or the Griffin Bonner, would be Islam, Mr. Russia, Dagestani. Sorry, his first name is Islam.
And Makachev. Sorry.
And he fought 20-year-old guy, 22-year-old, that he couldn't finish. And it was beautiful. That was the fight of the night for me. And that was also what the UFC said was the fight of the night. Tsar, something like Tsar of Russia, TSAR. This is the best podcast that will ever be, just to let you know. But yeah, some of those trips, man, some of that stuff where he's wrist controlling him and then just kicking his foot out from under him. Dude, it was high level stuff.
Islam's opponent was Arman Sarkian. That's the best that I can pronounce it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
All right, next is our GSP award, which is just the overall good feeling moment or the biggest W, the biggest win that took place. It can be funny, it can be serious, just kind of whatever we think. So my GSP award for this week goes to Krzysztof Jotko's breakdancing after his fight.
Yeah.
That man has some moves. I was impressed by that.
Yeah.
Kind of GSP-esque, too, the way that he would do it.
Yeah, man. That's a good one. Mine was going to be Roxy getting the win.
That was almost mine, but I didn't want to have her for two, so.
Yeah. That was my both my feel good and then my next one, the bad thing.
Yeah, so then our bad one is our CM Punk
the
award.
CM Punk award goes to that judge. That okay, so I watched the fight this morning, and I thought, oh, well, Roxanne won every round. And then when I realized it was a split decision, I was like, that's terrible. And so then I went and I watched it again this afternoon with my wife. And when I watched it again, I said, I guess all three judges gave her the third round, gave Shevchenko the third round, because there was a lot of scrambling. It changed positions pretty frequently. And when they stood up, Shevchenko lit her up the way that she should. Mm-hmm. So, there was at least more of a grapple back and forth there were transitions where Shevchenko could have won the round.
So there was no 30-27 on any of the scorecards?
No.
Okay.
There was 30-27 on every SureDog scorecard, because I looked that up to make sure I wasn't going to say something crazy. But like everybody that was on, all the judges who were judging it for SureDog.com said that Roxy won every round. So I'm not completely crazy.
Yeah. So my CM Punk award goes to, I'm going to do the best with this pronunciation, Movsar Evloev. He specifically gets warned by the referee, who has another crazy name. It's like Vyacheslav Kislev. He gets warned while there's a downed opponent up against the cage to not throw an illegal knee, because he throws it to the body and then he like slides it to his face, and the ref's like, hey, like, no, and then he just rears back and throws another knee. So the ref's like, all right, let me deduct a point. So that was funny. It made me laugh, and that is my CM Punk award for this week.
Absolutely, man. I'm trying to think of like other times where someone has just blatantly been like, I'm going to do it anyway. And like Andrew Galata comes to mind in boxing. He would just low blow people. I think I sent you that video of like him hitting that 3-punch combo, like to get disqualified. Yeah. I think it's Galata versus Riddick Bowe 2 is where he throws because he gets disqualified for low blows in the first bout. And then in the rematch, he gets disqualified for low blows. And he throws a 3-punch combo.
3-piece in a soda?
Yeah. Yeah. 3-piece in a riot. That's what happens.
Yeah. So, for our UFC Fight Night 149 recap, the main event was Alistair Overeem versus Alexei Oleinik. And, Ben, we were a little off this week. We both had Oleinik winning, and that did not happen, even though he started out really well and was tuning up Overeem in the stand-up to the surprise of many. But he eventually gets TKO'd in the final minute of the fight. So, Ben, my question for you starting out is, how many fights away is Alistair Overeem from a title shot? Because he's always talked about how the UFC Heavyweight Championship is like the one belt that's missing from his collection. So, at this point in his career, and I have the rankings pulled up if you need that, how many fights do you think are away, assuming that he wins, from an Alistair Overeem title shot?
How long has it been since he beat JDS?
I don't know, and I can't look it up. Sorry.
Okay. Well, like, Junior just beat Black Beast. So.
And he's scheduled to fight Ngannou at the International Fight Week July card.
Yeah. So, like, and Overeem's beaten JDS, but he lost to Ngannou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ngannou took his soul with that uppercut.
Except he, like, reinvigorated him with it.
Right.
He reinvigorated his career because he'd been knocking fools out.
In the moment, he took his soul.
Yeah. The uppercut gave him some of the horse meat that would cause him to power up to Uberim again. He looks younger. Like, when I was looking at him in
he looked did he look slimmer to you? Like, more
yes.
Like, he's always a huge man.
He's slimmed noticeably because of the whole USADA testing. I mean, he popped, and then he had all that crazy testosterone level before the Brock fight. And, yeah, so he's a known problem guy. But somehow, unlike other known problem guys who have changed their stuff, he's had a resurgence,
Yeah. So right now he's ranked 7th. And like I said, Ngannou's going to be fighting Junior Dos Santos. Real quick, who do you think wins that fight? Because I would say that I think Ngannou is going to get the better of him. I feel like Ngannou's on the right track of his career. He seems more focused after the Stipe loss.
Do you know the odds?
Mm-mm.
If Ngannou... Obviously, if Ngannou isn't the favorite, you should put money on him. But there's no way that he's not going to be the favorite. He's going to be like a 2-1 favorite. If he's like a 3-1 favorite, I'm putting money on JDS. Because, like I figure Ngannou will beat... the Ngannou Derek Lewis fight is that horror show, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah. So, like...
Which is so depressing. I hate thinking about that. Every time, it just makes me sad.
I love thinking about it. It's the best thing that could possibly happen. Because you guys asked for it. You wanted Derek Lewis. You keep pushing him beyond his like actual capabilities. You know, like he gets this lucky. He gets watch that Volkov fight.
I know. It
And
was
just
all
be
because
like,
of the
you
hot
have
balls.
got
The
to
hot
be
balls got him
kidding.
the title shot. We all know it.
Title
but
shot. That's just ridiculous.
against Daniel Cormier too. Like it's not even one that you can really promote as like a striker versus striker. Where it's
I'm
like
telling you,
Lewis
man,
has a
go
chance.
back and watch Lewis versus Rochold and understand.
And where
that
did this fight take
Lewis-
place? Is this like some
It happened
underground?
on Access TV, but like I'm trying to think of what it was on. Let me think for just like a second. It wasn't Legacy because it wasn't in Texas. I'm pretty sure,
Excuse me.
and it was somewhere that was going to have like a.
He's
What
from
was it?
Texas, right?
Is Lewis from Texas?
I think so.
Then it might have been Legacy. So,
Okay.
but yeah. No, I want to say it was RFA, like the minor league show.
Okay.
Because whoever went, well, both of them wound up in the UFC. It was supposed to be Rochold was supposed to beat him, and then go to the UFC as an undefeated wrestler guy, but he couldn't wrestle him very well, and he gassed horribly, and Derek Lewis got a very friendly stand-up, and then hit him with a bomb.
Gotcha. Who do you think will be his next fight? Alistair Overeem's. Because like I said, like here's the heavyweight rankings. So DC's champ. Stipe's floating around at number 1. Ngannou and Dos Santos are 2 and 3. Curtis Blades is at 4. Lewis is at 5. And then Volkov is at 6. And remember, Overeem was scheduled to fight Volkov. And then Oleinik filled in.
Yeah, keep on. Is Volkov suspended, though? Right? Didn't he get in trouble?
That sounds right.
Yeah, so like I was gonna say, keep him on his Russian freight training, people. You know, have him fight Volkov next. He'll probably beat Volkov.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I would say have him fight Volkov next, and then the loser of JDS versus Ngannou, because I'm sure that the winner will get a title shot. So have him fight the loser of that fight.
Losers don't fight losers, man. Or losers don't fight winners, man.
I would say make an exception here. Because look, there's no
You're
point.
gonna fight a
there's
loser?
no point for Stipe to rematch him
Why?
because there's no gain in that from Stipe. Like I would totally understand if he makes that argument, except for the fact that Overeem did drop him in their fight.
Yeah, he should have to fight. Like, I mean, yes, he should have. Because if he says that, then why can't Daniel Cormier say that about Stipe?
Okay,
They're like, there's nothing to gain. I finished you in one round, bro.
I mean that's true.
Like,
though.
I smashed you. You're done.
That's
you don't
true.
get a title shot. And he's like, dude, I'm the only, like, heavyweight to really hold things down up here.
Okay, yeah, looking at it as a fight. Okay, for it kind of is a George St. Pierre type thing to me for DC's legacy. Like he did knock him out, and even though there were a bunch of like eye pokes and stuff, and I kind of do agree with that argument that probably played a big factor. But that's always the case in fights. You can't like make a excuse for that. But for DC's legacy, a rematch with Stipe doesn't really do anything to me. Like that doesn't increase his stock by a lot.
Yeah, but it's not about his stock. It's about it being a sport. Like, you
Yeah,
don't
as
get
a
to
sporting
pick and
perspective.
choose. Like, who's the number one contender? That's who he fights. Brock Lesnar needs to go F5 someone. Like, it's not no. Like, it shouldn't be, especially when you have this limited time. Like, you gain nothing from beating up Brock Lesnar. Which apparently isn't going to happen, is what I've been hearing.
Yeah, that shocked me. So I'm wondering if Brock is having some USADA issues
Maybe.
because I know that they don't announce anything.
Or Brock might have just, woken up one morning and realized that he's, 40?
Is he like 41 now?
He's over 40,
Yeah, we've already
and he's,
we've had this discussion before.
Been doing fake stuff for a while. Maybe he wakes up and he just feels that spot that Overeem kicked in his gut and is like,
Not again.
Maybe he remembers, here's a fun story from Wrestling Land. So Brock Lesnar, is the WWE heavyweight champion of the world, or he was until WrestleMania where he lost. But Brock Lesnar was also a collegiate wrestler, very highly decorated.
That
I mean,
was
you
in
guys are
Minnesota,
listening to
right?
Yeah, you guys are listening to an MMA podcast, so you know this. But Kurt Angle, who never had an MMA fight, but won a gold medal in wrestling.
And somewhere Henry Cejudo's just like screaming at that news.
What
Like
do
in a
you
good
mean?
way, like an excited way that he's a gold medalist.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so you've got Lesnar, who is this like, he was promoted through the roof. When they brought Brock Lesnar in, he was like he was one of the youngest heavyweight champions in WWE history. And he killed everyone. He just ran through everyone on the roster. But then Kurt Angle was also on the roster. And so when they were touring around, and it was going to be Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, and that's where Brock Lesnar breaks his neck trying to do a shooting star press. Like, he doesn't really break his neck, but he knocks himself out and then gets up completely concussed and hits an F5 on Kurt Angle. But Kurt Angle has a gold medal. They're on tour together, wrestling every night, and apparently some stuff gets started in a van, and they pull it over, and they have a wrestling match. And Kurt Angle is he's got to be 75 pounds lighter than Brock Lesnar. And, I don't know, 5-6 inches shorter. And the gold medalist got the better of Mr. Suplex City, because it's gold medal wrestling versus, anybody. At wrestling, you're going to get dominated. Doesn't matter how big and strong you are. So,
you're pretty much saying you think if that fight were to materialize between DC and Brock, that DC just has his way with him.
Yes.
Yeah. I
With
think
the
so
wrestling.
too. I think that most of the MMA community thinks that. So, yeah. So moving on from Overeem to Islam, who do you think that Islam's? Well, let me call him by his full name, Islam Makhachev. Who do you think his first top 15 contenders should be at lightweight?
Kevin Lee.
See, but Kevin Lee apparently has moved to 170s permanent, is what he said now.
Okay.
Although there were a lot of talks about that fight. I would like to see it.
What is Ryan Hall ranked?
Ryan Hall's
Mr.
not
Leglock?
ranked.
Yeah.
No.
That'd be fun. I'm serious. Like, I'm guessing that Islam would just piece him up. Like, punch him and stuff. I don't think he would really grapple with him. Right? I want to see that
like
fight.
He still does.
I want to see that fight, because if he does, he might get his leg ripped off.
Yeah, that is a good fight. I hate that he's not in the top 15 for
I
that.
think it looks horribly like that Gray Maynard fight, except with better hands from Islam. Where Gray Maynard just like doesn't ever
like
let
full
him.
Caro. He's just like garbage stand up, or
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't ever let him engage. Like, Ryan Hall keeps kind of like falling down and stuff, trying to grab his leg. But yeah,
I would kind of like to see Islam versus Gregor Gillespie. I think his name.
Gregor Gillespie. Yeah,
Gillespie. I think that'd be a good fight. Because
Yeah.
I was gonna say Alexander Hernandez, but he's coming off a loss, so I know that fight's not likely. It's the guy that the young prospect that Cowboy beat.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good fight. I would rather see that fight, but if they really are going like off the wins, then I would say put him against Gillespie.
Yeah, you could do him and who's at 155? That's just a loaded division.
Yeah, I was looking at the rankings. 55 is so stacked. Like, you have Khabib as champion, Poirier's your interim champ, Tony, Connor, Ray Janelle, Justin Gaethje, Kevin Lee. He's still in the rankings, but apparently he is staying at 170. Barboza, Cowboy, Anthony Pettis, even though he's moved up to welterweight, Paul Felder, Gillespie, Hernandez, James Vick, Charles Oliveira, and then Nate Diaz is still at 15.
Charles Oliveira is a fun one. I think it'd be fun to watch them wrestle, because I mean, he's obviously going to out wrestle him, but I've seen Charles Oliveira hit a calf slicer in the UFC.
Yeah, I almost put him too.
He's a beast as far as I want to see him roll around on the ground with someone who is very dangerous at jiu-jitsu.
Islam or Oliveira? Islam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Oliveira. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want him to win, if you want Islam to have a solid win, you have him fight James Vick or you have him fight Edson Barboza.
You think you're that confident that he beats Barboza?
Yes.
I'm way more confident in Vic than Barboza. I'm not saying that he loses to Barboza. I'm just saying I don't know. I don't have the same type of confidence.
I think he just kind of like mauls both of them in the same way in a way. Like, I think that there's probably a better chance of like the one getting through from James Vick, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of the reach advantage?
Just because of the reach advantage, exactly. Because he's so far away and he's such a freak at that division. But like Barboza, I feel like would be so worried about getting taken down that takes away his leg kicks, and it takes away like him really loading up on like I'm about to throw a spinning heel to the dome piece. Mm-hmm. Like he's gonna get taken down on that.
Yeah, now that is true. I didn't think about it that way, but I was thinking about his kicks, and I would like to see Islam take a couple of his kicks in that fight, and then kind of see how it goes from there. If Barboza's able to land,
he's gonna catch the first. Like he's just gonna charge him.
You think
he's gonna hit him and he's gonna charge him? Like if he feels it, he's gonna charge. He's just gonna bull rush him.
We need to see it. I
guess.
I don't want to just sit here and talk about it. I wish that
there's no way that Islam wouldn't be a 2-1 favorite in that fight, and I would still pick him as the 2-1.
I would say Barboza opens up in Vegas.
And then I would be
putting the money on Islam.
Yeah. No, Vegas is smart though. That's what I'm telling you.
I think
like,
it'd be a close line, but Barboza opens up barely as like a negative.
Wrong.
I guess we'll see when the fight comes, if it ever comes.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Now, one that is like one of those like Twilight Zone-y, Islam shows up and is there on weight to fill in for someone that I'd like to see is him and Gaethje, because that would force you to see Gaethje's wrestling.
I think at this point in their career, Gaethje wins. But as it developed, like if Islam has this high potential and he kind of does come like Khabib-like, I don't know. That's when we need to see it though, when Islam's in his prime against Gaethje. We don't need to throw him to him.
Yeah, man. Now. I don't know. There's just this part of me that feels like
you think it's gonna be like the next big thing at lightweight, like Islam.
Islam is like, oh yeah, I had a thought in my head actually. Islam reminds me of Rory McDonald. Do you remember when GSP was still the man? And then they were like, there's this kid. He's exactly like GSP. He might be Marilyn Manson or the friend from Wonder Years, but he's got the exact same skill set. He trains with him all the time. And then it's like, here's Khabib version 2.0. Trains with him all the time, does the same leg stuff. Yeah. That nasty leg, what was it, Dagestani leg cuffs that
that was almost my GSP award, was the commentary coming up.
It was good. That was good commentary. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very quick side note, because we're already 42 minutes into this.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah. So this one may go for a while.
6 hours.
Who's your favorite commentators? Because obviously there's different ones for fight nights and pay-per-views, but for pay-per-view, like mine would be Joe and Anik and DC. I like Cruz sometimes.
Do I get all time?
But no. This is currently, because all time
Goldberg is my color or play-by-play guy. Yeah.
Yeah. But like I like Cruz, but he's very hit or miss to me. Like sometimes I feel like he's the best commentator there, but then like at UFC 229, Khabib versus McGregor, there's times where I'm just like Cruz, like what are you talking about here, man? Because it's like he's so smart. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like he makes a lot of stupid comments too that I'm surprised. That's just my opinion. So I
like Dominic Cruz just fine. I mean, like I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, so current UFC, I get 3 people in the booth,
right?
And one of them has to be a play-by-play guy,
right? And then for my fight night, I would say it's probably the commentators that just did it: Felder, Dan Hardy, and John Gooden.
Okay.
That would be my fight night ones.
I think that as far as the play-by-play guy, I guess I like the British dude, Brendan, what's his name?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his last name.
But you know what I'm saying. I like him.
The younger guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's my just has to read cue card guy. And then as far as the two people in the booth that I get to pick, it's so tough because there are so many good fighters that have done it. I'm probably going to go with Rogan because he's the classic, and Dan Hardy. I like Dan Hardy. I've always loved Dan Hardy on commentary.
I love Dan Hardy's role, like at the UFC in general, or in the UFC, I should say.
Yeah.
I like as big of a part that he's played. I've really come to like him a lot more. Because back in the day, it was just, this is GSP's rival. So I was like, not a fan of him.
You know, the thing that this conversation makes me think of is back in like the early 2000s, everybody was so high on Frank Mir's commentary in WEC.
Really?
Yeah, everybody was like, oh, this is just like listening to the champ call fights. And then at some point, you just stopped caring. Like, he had like, there was a real like, you can almost like see the drop-off as you watch all the old WECs, which we should do.
It's a YouTube idea.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming, everybody. I promise.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So,
Frank Mir's commentary.
Frank Mir's commentary.
Were you done with that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would you not put Tito in there for your pay-per-view cards?
I was thinking about, like, who do you put in as, like, the worst?
Like, do you do Tito and Phil Baroni?
Phil Baroni wasn't that bad on commentary.
I mean, he is the best ever.
Yeah, he is the best.
We have to say that every time.
He's funny, you know.
No, I just know you made that point about he made like a
put him in the sleeper. It was because it was horrible. Like, you can't comment on it. Like, you can't give like a breakdown other than like, well, that's wrong. Like, he doesn't have any control of his body. He should be able to just like step behind and basically sidewalk slam him. Like, that's what he should do, but he's not going to. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so we're changing up our format a little bit just for this episode because our tagline for the Fight Addicts is exploring the past, present, and future of MMA. So far, the structure of the podcast has just been just kind of like, we open up, we kind of recap the last UFC event that happened, we talk about the news, and then we close with our predictions. Well, eventually we're going to start putting some of these into YouTube videos, but for today we wanted to go ahead and do an idea that we had, and it is our top three UFC champions in each weight class.
Uh-oh, that's not what I did.
You didn't do UFC?
Nope.
Okay, so we're just going to do my top three UFC champions in each weight class, and then
I did the top three
Ben
heavyweight champions because I work in some other people.
So we don't have it structured the same, I don't imagine, because Ben didn't tell me how he structured his. I didn't tell him how I structured mine, and I wanted to leave it like that. That way we know kind of how our minds think of it and how we kind of define what is a good champion and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and start us out at women's strawweight. So coming in at number 3 of women's strawweight champions, I'm having to pull it up real quick. I have Miss Carla Esparza. Now, there's only been 3 champions.
Mm-hmm.
So, out of the 3, Carla Esparza, she reigned for 92 days. She eventually, she beat Rose Namajunas to get it at the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale. So, real quick, kind of how I'm structuring mine, and then I'm going to give over to Ben for his number 3. Is I do it by their title defenses is like a huge one. Obviously, how many times they defended their title. The quality of their opponent kind of plays a factor. I know that you can't gauge that too much because of like the quality of the old UFC fighters compared to like the newer ones and kind of the rise of talent.
Yeah.
But there is some that I do take that into consideration. The length of their title reign. And then if I had to go this far, like deep into it to decide between a couple, I would do how they got their belt.
Okay.
So at number 3, I have Carla Esparza for women's strawweight. And Ben, we'll just alternate. So you're number 3.
Yeah, that's right. As far as the 3 of them, yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably have these the same. Well, I don't know. You might have 1 and 2 different. At number 2, I have Miss Rose Namajunas. Now I'm looking at this just as a champion, not as a fighter. So, obviously, Rose beat Joanna, who's my number 1. But like I said, this is how I want to do it different. Because looking at it just like as a champion, Joanna was a much better champion so far. Now, I know that Rose is still the champion, and she hasn't had the time that Joanna had to prove herself. But she's been the champion for 532 days at the time of this recording. And she defeated Joanna Jędrzejczyk at UFC 217 to win the title. And she also defended her title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Yeah.
So she is the better fighter of the two, but like based just as a champion, and this will come with a lot more light, and people will probably disagree with me, but I have her at number 2 for women's strawweight.
I understand what you're saying, but I still got to put it. I've got to put young Jędrzejczyk. That's always how Jędrzejczyk. That's always how you're supposed to say it. Young.
It is young.
Jędrzejczyk.
I always say Jędrzejczyk.
I don't know. Young Jędrzejczyk. That's always what I always thought. Yeah, Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
I would call her Joanna.
But yeah, so I would put her under Rose because she lost to Rose twice. Sorry. I mean, she definitely brought the violence at 115. Like, you can't look at that Penne fight without knowing that she was there to mess some people up. But she was also a bully. And she had those, the Ultimate Fighter season. Who did she fight at the end when she was a coach? The other coach was
Joanna.
Yeah.
That's was it Jessica Penn?
No.
Claudia Gadelha.
Yeah, that was the best. That was the most impressive of the things that she did. Was the first Claudia Gadelha fight was super close, and then when they fought again after Ultimate Fighter, Joanna just took her into deep waters and beat her up for a long time.
Gotcha. So my number 1 is Joanna. She was the champion for 966 days, but in those 966 days, she defended her title 5 times, beating the likes of Jessica Penn, Valerie Letourneau.
Jessica Penne.
It's Penne.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like pasta.
Not keeping up my women's MMA too much, apparently. Claudia Gadelha, Karolina Kovacevic.
Yeah.
There we go. And then Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
So looking at it resume-wise, I have Joanna as the top women's strawweight champion so far.
Go with Thug Rose because she beat her twice, and that's more impressive than the resume that Jędrzejczyk put up.
So moving on to women's flyweight, there's only been 2.
Yeah.
We'll probably have the same for these. At number 2, I have Nico Montano.
Yeah.
Yeah. She reigned for 280 days. She defeated Roxanne Modafferi at the Ultimate Fighter 26 finale to win the belt. And you said yours was the same?
Yep.
Yeah. So then at number 1,
and then she didn't make weight, and they stripped her.
Right. And that was at September the 7th, 2018, when she was stripped. And then my number 1 would be Valentina Shevchenko. And this was based, obviously she hasn't had as long of a reign because she hasn't been as champion as long. But if those two were to fight, I think we all know how that would go down. Unless something freaky happened. So since they're both,
that's fair,
as champions, how I'm looking at it, kind of the same, I would say Valentina gets the edge on that. All right, moving on to men's flyweight. Ben, I'll let you lead out with that. Who you have? There's only been 2 champions in the UFC.
Well, yeah. So like, well, here's the thing. I go the other way on this. I know I already said like, oh, well, I gave it to Rose as number 1 because she beat her twice. Well, even though Henry Cejudo decisioned Mighty Mouse, the first time they fought, Mighty Mouse finished him in a round. And I think that if they had a rubber match, I would pick Mighty Mouse. No offense, Henry.
I would pick Mighty Mouse too.
But, yeah, so I put Henry as number 2 and Mighty Mouse as number 1.
Yeah, that's definitely the same as mine. I mean, Henry did beat a cheating TJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Mighty Mouse's resume as champion, I mean, that can't really be argued against as one of the best title reigns of all time.
Exactly.
All right, so women's bantamweight, my number 3 would be Miesha Tate.
Yes.
There's been 4 of these champions so far. So I have Miesha Tate. Her reign was 126 days. She won the title from Holly Holm at UFC 190. No, I'm sorry, at UFC 196. She never defended her title, but neither did Holly Holm. And since she beat Holly Holm, I gave her the 3rd spot.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I put Misha there as well. Yeah, because it's her versus Holly Holm, right?
Right.
And like, because she beat Holly Holm, she gets the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because Holly Holm beat Ronda, and Ronda owned Misha.
Right.
But for some reason, I still give Misha the spot. Did Holmes fight Nunes?
No, that fight is the co-main event of the July card.
That'll be
this year.
good.
Yeah, I think it's a good fight. People did not need to sleep on Holly for that fight.
Nunes
Depending
is
on how
gonna
much of an
kill
underdog.
her. Nunes is going to kill her.
You think she's going to kill her? No. I think it's going to be a better fight than people think.
Did you watch Misha versus Holly?
I think so.
Did you watch Misha beat Holly?
She taps her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch Nunes versus Misha?
Yeah, UFC 200.
Yeah. Nunes is going to kill Holmes.
Home.
She hits like a man.
She does hit like a man.
It's
Yeah.
home.
It's home.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know if it was going to be like, I didn't know if Watson was going to show up. You know?
Yeah. That's a terrible movie, by the way. The new
I
Will
haven't
Ferrell
seen
movie.
it.
Yeah.
I've not seen it. It just made me happy that it was there because I know it makes a lot of people upset.
I went to the theaters and watched it. One of my
Good.
buddies.
Give money to the studio for that one.
I did. So this one's about to make everybody scream. At number 2, I have Amanda Nunes. So I know that she beat Ronda, but like I said, I'm looking at this as their time as champion. Obviously, nobody doubts that Amanda Nunes is a better mixed martial artist than Ronda Rousey.
Right.
But when looking at them as a champion, Nunes only defended her belt so far. I know that she's still the champion, so it's kind of a unfair advantage to her. She's only defended her belt 3 times so far compared to Ronda 6. She's almost had her title reign as long, but just overall, like, to me, you can't really deny what Ronda did in her run as champion. So, like, as a championship resume, I have Amanda Nunes at number 2, and then Ronda Rousey's going to be my number 1 for women's bantamweight.
Nunes' first one is Rousey.
Mm-hmm.
Her second one is Shevchenko.
Yes.
And her third one is Cyborg.
No. Her third one is Raquel Pennington, and then
where
she
is
goes
Cyborg?
up in weight at 45.
Yeah. Dear Lord. So you don't even factor that in?
No, because that's how I'm doing it, and that's why I didn't want to talk
that's
about it.
That's also why you're like, don't sleep on Holly Holm. Because you understand that like Cyborg is this inhuman level of power striker, and she got destroyed by Nunes.
Nunes will win. I'm just saying, to me, it's like I can't really think of anything to compare it to, like off the top of my head. I'm just saying, don't sleep on Holm. I feel like she's always dangerous. Like she's somebody that you just like can't count out. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. I think that Nunes is going to win. I'm just saying I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people will probably give credit, like for Holly.
I think it's just going to be inside. Like I know that this is bad because I know that Holly Holm has missed like timing and spacing and all that jazz, and she's not the same animal as Cyborg is. Did they do Cyborg and Holmes or Holm?
Yeah, they did. It
and
went
Cyborg,
all 5 rounds. I'm pretty sure that Cyborg won all 5 rounds on the judges. I think it was a 50-45 all the way across.
Like part of me think, I mean, like that could happen because Holm has the footwork of a boxer to make that happen.
Yeah.
But like, she's just gonna lose if it does. You know, if she engages her, she's gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably a lot like the Cyborg Holm fight is where Amanda probably wins every round. I'm just saying I don't know if she'll finish her right away with that like barrage that she usually does at like the first round of every fight.
Depends on if Holm is willing to let that happen. If she engages, it's 9-9.
Yeah. So who do you? I'm guessing that you have Rousey as your number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, it's probably blasphemy to put Rousey at 2. But Rousey never fought Cyborg. And, like, who's Rousey's biggest win?
Okay, she fought Liz Carmouche, Misha Tate, probably Tate, Sarah McMahon, Alexis Davis, Kat Zingano, and Beth Corella. That was who she defended.
Kohea. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not good with
and it's like
pronouncing
Betch.
names.
It's like Besh. Yeah. But yeah, she Rousey never really Miesha Tate's her best win. You know, an opponent that's pretty tailor made for her is her best win, because Miesha is best on the ground. Like, Miesha is just trying to get it to the floor and do some like tricky jiu-jitsu stuff. You know.
Moving on to women's featherweight, there have been only
just
3
Cyborg,
champions.
right?
No, there's been 3. So it starts out with Jermaine Durandamy.
Oh yeah.
Then we go into Cyborg, and then Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Because that fight happened at featherweight.
Yeah, she's the champ.
Right, first women's champ.
Yeah.
So Ben, who do you have as your number 3?
The Durandamine.
Jermaine Durandamy. Yeah.
Uranium. Yeah.
That one's mine too. For obvious reasons, only reigned for 128 days, and then she gets stripped because she's like, I'm not going to fight Cyborg.
Yeah.
So that's fair. Good reason to strip her. Who do you have as your number 2?
Nunes.
Okay, so we're in agreement on that. Even though she beat Cyborg, you have her as your 2?
She's only had one fight, man.
Right, yeah. Okay, so we kind of structured that one the same.
Yeah.
That one's mine. Eventually, she'll probably pass Cyborg, especially since she beat her. Well, actually, no, I take that back because I don't think she's going to be fighting at featherweight.
They should just stop the division.
Yeah, well, they took them off the rankings, I want to say. Let me double check. Yeah, there's no women's featherweight on the UFC website rankings.
Having women fight over 135 pounds is like being like, we're introducing a 260 and up category for men.
Super heavyweight.
Yeah, like we're going to do super heavyweight for dudes, because once you get there are women that are over, that can be in prime physical athletic shape, that weigh over 135 pounds when they cut 20 pounds of water weight. So you're talking about a woman that's 155 pounds with abs. That's a big girl. Huge even, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So are there dudes in the NFL right now that could not make 100 or 265 pounds without cutting a leg off, that play offensive line and are super athletic and could probably beat some dudes up? Yeah, absolutely. But there aren't enough of them that want to get in a cage that are worth anything to form a division.
Right.
And that's true of women.
And to at least have 15 that are ranked.
Yeah, and that's way more true of women than it is of men. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's like having the WNBA All-Star game and we're going to have a slam dunk contest. Okay, well there's probably a girl on every team that can dunk, right?
Yeah.
Because some women can dunk.
Yeah.
But it's going to be
especially,
pretty...
what's the big one? Is it Grimes?
I don't know.
Do you have any idea? Okay.
I have no idea. But
she can dunk.
yeah, I think that there's probably somebody that could do some, probably the best female dunker could do some type of windmill or something. But it wouldn't be worth watching, really.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's a good point. So I accidentally skipped over men's bantamweight and went straight to women's featherweight. So, Ben, who do you have as your number 3 men's bantamweight
Let me get this pulled
champion?
up. My bad.
You're good. I'll go ahead and say mine. Mine would be Henan Burrell. So Henan Burrell, while he was the interim champion, he defeated Dry Faber to become interim champion. He defended his interim belt against Michael McDonald and Eddie Wineland.
Mm-hmm.
He gets promoted to undisputed champ, and he defeats Dry Faber as undisputed champ.
Yeah.
So that would be my number 3
Okay.
at bantamweight.
Yeah. That's fair.
Who do you have as your number 3? Or are you still waiting for it to?
Burrell. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement.
It's got to be Burrell. Yeah.
Number 2, and this, because since we had this idea before the whole EPO thing,
Yeah.
dropped, and I haven't put any consideration how much that affects this, but I have TJ Dillashaw as my number 2 champion.
Yep.
So TJ beats Burrell for the title. He reigns for 603 days during his first reign. And he defeats Joe Soto, and then he rematches Burrell and beats him. He loses to Cruz, and then he comes and beats Cody Garbrandt at UFC 217, and then he beats Cody in the rematch.
Yep.
So he had He had a good run as champion.
Yeah.
A total of 3 title defenses in his 2 different reigns.
Yes. He's also my number 2.
So we're in agreement that number 1 would be
Cruz.
Dominic Cruz.
The Dominator.
Yeah. So Dominic Cruz was champion twice. Because this starts him at WEC 53. So it says that he defended the title against Uriah Faber and Mighty Mouse. I wonder how many people do you think know that fight happened? The Mighty
I know
Mouse
that
Cruz
that fight happened.
I mean, obviously, like hardcore MMA fans, but I wonder how much of like the like post Conor fans and like post Ronda fans know that fight happened.
Anybody who cares about 125 knows that it happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody who cares about Mighty Mouse is like, well, when did this guy lose? And they're like, oh, he fought Dominic Cruz, and then they just look at the weigh-in, and they're like, oh, of course he lost.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 3 divisions away from Dominic Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a bad fight.
Yeah. So as Cruz is champion, he ends up vacating his title due to his notorious injuries. He becomes champion again, defeating TJ Dillashaw. That was a split decision, right? Or he beats Dillashaw. Cruz versus Dillashaw. I want to say that's a split decision. And then he defends his title against Uriah Faber at UFC 199 in their rubber match. And he's still active today. Kind of. He's on the rankings and might be coming back.
Yeah, so that's right. He's number 1.
All right, men's featherweight. Ben, who do you have as your number 3 for the men's featherweight division?
Okay, so
because there's only been 3, so everybody's going to make the list.
Okay, yeah, because see, everybody's going to make your list because you're doing it with just UFC champions.
Right.
Because I have Faber on my list from his WEC stuff because he was the king of 145 for so long.
Right.
Yeah, I got Conor at number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because he beat Aldo.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he never lost.
Right. Yeah.
And once he got to the dance, I don't think he ever lost at 145. Whenever he lost, wasn't it 155? Back in like when he was getting armbarred with acne and a buzz
Duffy.
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he have like 150? When he fighting at 155?
Yeah, those were at 55,
I think so.
if I'm remembering right.
Yeah. So he never lost at that weight because he's basically cheating to get to that weight. And then, yeah.
Yeah, Conor was which obviously there's only 3 in the UFC, but Conor was kind of a weird one because he does have that great featherweight run, but looking at it just as champion like I am, he definitely gets the number 3 spot because he never defends his title. He does become interim champion by defeating Chad Mendez, and then he beats Aldo in 13 seconds to become champion. He reigns. It's technically recorded for 350 days, but he never defends it.
It's disgusting.
So, and as a Conor fan, I mean, that was ridiculous. And
tied that belt up for a year.
Yep.
He should be ashamed of himself.
Yeah. At number 2, and now I feel like we're going to be in agreement on this. Number 2, I have Max Holloway.
No. I'm sorry. I don't have Max Holloway on my list.
So you put Conor McGregor over Max Holloway?
Yes. And I know that's wrong.
That's wrong.
But here's why. I mean, okay. Now, look.
Argument time right here.
I know that this is bad as far as like if you just have a resume. But like when you say, yeah, I won every fight that I had. I actually fought the guy that you're trying to put on the list ahead of me. I blew out my knee like in the first round of that fight, and I still just owned him. I totally dominated him with wrestling. What more do you want from him? Like, I feel like, and I know that, like, oh, he's a different fighter. No, than he was. Okay, that's great. If they do it again at 155, it's going to go. Conor's going to knock him unconscious. Conor will
definitely think that
knock out Max Holloway if they fight again because he won't hurt his
claim.
leg. Is it bold? Did you see what Dustin Poirier was putting on him? You think that if Conor puts that on him, he's not going to sleep?
That's a bold claim, and we're going to get a lot of hate for this. But I agree with you. I think that Conor, I don't know that he finishes him, Yeah, he
finishes
does.
him.
He knocks
He
him out.
finishes him. Yeah.
I don't know if he goes unconscious, but he TKOs him at least. Because Max has the heart of a warrior. Like it.
Well, he makes him like stand up starchy, like is the way that I see it. Like he gets all like, and falls down and goes to sleep. No offense. Like he's great and everything, but Dustin Poirier.
The best 145 according to Joe Rogan.
Maybe right now. Yeah.
He meant like the best ever.
No.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love Joe Rogan, but whoever's winning, I feel like that's always his claim. It's like, I feel like he is one of those that, I don't know, he just makes that claim a lot, I feel like, and it kind of loses its value.
That Aldo that grabbed the cage and flipped around and blasted Chad Mendez's brain out with that knee on the takedown.
At the last second.
Yeah, no. I don't know what kind of sauce he was on. But, like, I get that Max Holloway does some impressive stuff, but that Jose Aldo is dangerous.
Yeah, and so we both have Aldo as our number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, at featherweight. Yeah, you can't deny what the guy did. I mean, right now in the UFC, he had seven title defenses. He was the UFC featherweight champion for 1,848 days. Then becomes the interim champion, defeating Frankie Edgar. Gets promoted to undisputed champion after McGregor gets stripped, and he ends up reigning for a total of 2,037 days. He's the best at 145. Obviously, Max beat him twice. But, I mean, overall, looking at his resume, it's Jose Aldo.
Indeed.
Moving on to men's lightweight. Currently the most stacked division in the UFC. But champions, they were all kind of, like, right around each other whenever I was looking at it. I had a hard time picking these three. Specifically ranking these three in the order that I did. At number 3, I have Frankie Edgar.
Okay.
So Frankie defended his belt 3 times. His title reign lasted 687 days. I'm sorry, he didn't defend 3 times. He retained one of those because he had that draw with Gray Maynard.
Yeah.
That was probably my deciding factor. I just forgot to write it down until I'm looking at it right now. So, yeah, I mean, he defeats BJ to get the title. He defends his title against BJ. He has a draw with Gray Maynard, and then he defeats Gray Maynard again at UFC 136. This is where I put the the gauge of their opponents, sort of.
Yeah.
Because he only fights BJ and Gray Maynard.
Yeah.
So it's not 3 different people.
Well, he fights Ben Henderson. And
yeah, but he doesn't win that one. So I was meaning I guess defending his title.
Just like the rematch. I guess he didn't win.
I mean, yeah, on the official scorecard. So it can't be recorded as a title defense. So, yeah, number 3, I have Frankie Edgar.
Okay, so number 3, I'd put down as a tie between Pulver and Henderson. Because
Explain.
Because Pulver's the original, and Pulver beat BJ Penn to retain.
Yeah, I actually almost had Jens in my 3rd, but then I decided to put Frankie above him.
Yeah. So, and he didn't lose. He just went to Pride. He vacated.
Right. He left the UFC due to a contract dispute.
Yeah.
Is what's
He went to
down
Pride
as.
and fought Talking Origami. And it was good. So, yeah, Pulver and Henderson are tied at number 3 for me.
Gotcha. Number 2, I have Benson Henderson. So Benson defeated Frankie Edgar.
Did he?
Officially.
Yeah.
Officially it's recorded as he beat Frankie Edgar. And then, like you said, in the rematch, he? Air quotes, defeats Frankie Edgar. Then he defends his title against Nate Diaz and also Gilbert Melendez. So his reign lasted a total of 552 days. And so I edged him above Frankie. Even though Frankie's reign was longer, he beats Frankie. And he faces more opponents. And that's not Frankie's fault. But looking at it like this, that's why.
But does he face? Well, okay.
It was
just
Nate
different
and Gilbert
obstacles.
Melendez. Yeah.
But like, Nate Diaz is the weakest of all of the people that we're talking about here. That's an easy steamrolly opponent. for
Yeah,
for Benson Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna own him every day.
Boy, yeah, that fight played out exactly
Too
like
strong,
it should have.
too wrestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Who's your number 2?
Number 2 is Frankie Edgar. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Frankie Edgar's number 2.
On those.
Yeah. Hatchet Man's number 1.
Do you have that story?
I don't have that
Okay.
story in my head.
The
I didn't
headline.
read that story. I just sent you the headline. I just smiled and said, share with Seth Oliver.
Go ahead and read the headline.
I don't know what the headline. Okay, so there was a news article that I sent to Seth.
I might have it pulled up. Let me.
Basically, the headline was BJ Penn threatens farmer with hatchet or machete, like just a giant knife. Apparently, he's threatening
All right,
farmers.
BJ Penn accused of threatening farmer with machete. Police investigation ongoing.
Yeah,
He's had a rough 2 weeks.
I just hope that the farmer was like, he pulled out a machete and was threatening to kill me, and he pulled out a baby and did some coke off of it. So that it's just this other crazy story about babies and cocaine.
I just hope that the farmer's Matt Hughes, and like it's all like taking place. Yeah. And he just like he decided to like remain unnamed. Like that's really what's going down
in Hawaii. Like he moved to Hawaii after the train wreck. Yeah, because there aren't trains in Hawaii to try and get away from the trauma. No, yeah. So like, I guess that if BJ shows up at Matt Hughes' farm, I could see that. Just like Matt and Mark are arguing about that tractor. Like you think it'd be a scene where like Matt and Mark are about to get into it, and like Matt looks exactly like Mark, except he's still got the mullet from like when he fought. Look at that. So he looks exactly like Matt Hughes, just with a mullet, and he's like, "Now, brother, I know you got hit by that train and your brain isn't working right, but I'm not gonna let you talk to my kid that way." And like Matt is just like, "Well, where'd he go? I'm going to teach him a lesson." And he just turns around and BJ's just standing there with a hatchet. And Matt is like, is BJ Penn just standing here with a hatchet? And Mark is like, "I don't know what you're talking about, brother." Yeah. And scene.
All right. So, oh yeah, I agree with you on that. I have BJ Penn as my number 1. BJ defeated Joe Daddy Stevenson. I guess that was because Sean Sherk got stripped. And then he defends his title against Sean Sherk, Kenny Florian, and Diego Sanchez. What you got?
Here's the question.
Okay.
Better Just Bleed fight, Joe Stevenson and BJ Penn, or Stefan Struve and the butcher that did that to his face?
Okay, the Stevenson fight definitely has the more like iconic picture. That famous picture where he's just like in agony.
Crying with the blood. Yeah. I just had that thought. Like, I'm sure that blood loss quantity Struve wins against everybody that's ever fought. Because it's probably a 6'11" man just spewing blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got more blood because he's so much bigger.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, moving on to welterweight. Coming in at number 3, I have Tyron Woodley. So Woodley defended his belt 4 times against Wonderboy twice. I'm sorry, he retained one of those because he drew with Wonderboy.
I was going to say, did he?
Yeah. And then he defended the title against Wonderboy, Damian Maia, and Darren Till, with his reign lasting a total of 945 days. Welterweight it was kind of the opposite of lightweight in the way that like lightweight had a bunch of champions that all had like 2 or 3 title defenses, but and there were like I said, like probably like 5 or 6 of them. But welterweight there were like 4 that all have like really good resumes. So it's pretty much kind of like I had to pick one to just drop off, which was Pat Miletich. I put Woodley over Pat Miletich.
We'll see, but like you put Woodley over Pat Miletich, and I put Woodley over Pat Miletich, and I love Pat Miletich, but I put Lawler over Woodley.
Okay, explain how you put Lawler over Woodley.
Quality of wins. Quality of fights.
Okay, quality of fights, but as a champion. Like, Woodley defended his belt more times, and he beat Lawler to become champion.
Yes.
So
But
no, I'm not denying that Robbie Lawler had
the best thing that
fights.
Tyron Woodley did was he beat Robbie Lawler. Okay. And then he does nothing twice against Wonder Boy. What was the Damian Maia one like? Was it like the first
least
one?
amount of strikes?
Was the Damian Maia like the first time they fought? Because I thought that Damian Maia had already fought Tyron Woodley.
I don't know on that.
I thought that Tyron Woodley lost to Damian Maia back in the day, and that's why you would ever do that fight again. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, yeah, like, okay, who was the last one?
Darren Till.
Yeah. Darren Till, that, like, Masvidal was like, he's big. I'm going to piece him up. Like, he's not all that he's cracked up to be.
Right. But I guess I was thinking, like, for the Till one specifically, it's sort of like the Adesanya thing. Like, Adesanya definitely has holes in his game, like Till did. Mm-hmm. But I feel like coming in with that hype, like, mentally, I feel like Till was, like, so prepared for that. Like, that's what I mean. Like, obviously, in hindsight, looking back, it's easy to kind of, like, discredit that one a little bit. But in the actual, like, moment of it, because Till hadn't lost yet.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a little bit, like, different Till. That's kind of how I looked at it. I don't know if everybody else looks at it that way, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. At number 2, who you got for number 2?
At welterweight?
Yeah, number 2 at welterweight.
Matt Hughes.
Okay, we're in agreement on that one.
Just pretty clear.
Yeah.
Matt Hughes.
Yeah, I think it'd definitely be a mistake to say that Tyron Woodley was a better champion than Matt Hughes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I heard Joe Rogan talk about this one again, that if Woodley were to have beat Usman, he could possibly be the greatest welterweight of all time.
No.
That was said on his podcast. And other people were starting to talk about it, how Woodley was right there with GSP.
Ridiculous.
And that one, I used to be a Woodley hater, and then I was never like a huge fan, but after the Till fight, I feel like he did prove himself compared to his other fights. But I thought that was like an outrageous claim.
I mean, he proved himself in the Robbie Lawler fight.
Yeah. I was meaning as champion. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's definitely a great fighter, but specifically as champion, he had always been hated and doubted and stuff. I feel like the Till fight upped his stock a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt Hughes, he was actually the champion twice, defended his title 5 times, and then his second time as champion, he defended his title twice. Some of the people that he beat: Carlos Newton, Sean Sherk, Frank Trigg, and BJ Penn. So he has a good resume.
Yeah.
Number 1, I have Carlos Newton.
Good. Yeah.
Now, number 1, definitely have the man, the overall GOAT, George St. Pierre, for obvious reasons. Great run as champion, 9 total title defenses, pretty much unstoppable at welterweight, unless your name's Matt Serra or Matt Hughes.
Matt's his problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, middleweight. Who you got at number 3?
Number 3, middleweight, for me is going to be Chris Weidman. Number 3 on the list.
I actually have Rich Franklin.
He's there, but he's not number.
Oh, so you got Franklin at 2?
Yeah.
Gotcha. What was the incentive to put Franklin above Weidman?
Length of reign, right?
So Weidman reigned for 888 days. Franklin reigned for 497.
How many fights did he have?
Franklin had 2 as champion. Weidman had 3.
He only had 2?
He defeated Nate Corey and David, is it Lusso?
Loazo? Yeah, David Loazo. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know who it was.
And then he fought Anderson Silva and got destroyed.
Right.
So he takes the belt off of Danny Castillo?
Evan Tanner,
who took the belt off of someone.
He took the belt off of Murillo
Bustamante. No, he didn't. Evan Tanner didn't beat
No, I'm sorry.
Bustamante.
Evan Tanner beat David Terrell.
David Terrell, right, because Burrell and Bustamante left.
Yeah, he got stripped because he went to
Pride. Went to Pride, yeah. He looks like Don Flamenco from Punch-Out, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out back in the day. Burlo Bustamante does. I guess it's just my own, like, iconic. He's just the guy I thought of as the guy that was the champion at middleweight when it all blew up.
Yeah, that was my thoughts too. But then looking at it like this, I put Weidman ahead of him because like I love Rich Franklin a lot more than I like.
You probably
and I don't
should
have a problem with.
You probably should put Weidman ahead of him. You're probably right.
Gotcha. And then number 1, it's kind of like welterweight.
Anderson Silva. Yeah.
Anderson Silva.
Mm-hmm.
All right, coming in at light heavyweight for my number 3. Oh, this one is probably going to ruffle some feathers. I actually have Chuck Liddell as my number 3. And the reason I say it'll ruffle some feathers is because at number 2, I have Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, I got that backwards.
Okay.
It's different.
Any reason why you flip-flopped him?
Because Tito got destroyed when they were still in their primes by Chuck twice.
Right.
That's why.
So like I was saying, yeah, Chuck Liddell was definitely the better fighter in their prime, looking as a champion. Tito had one more title defense, and his reign was like 500 days longer.
Yeah, but okay. So who were their wins?
Tito's was Yuki Kondo, Evan Tanner, Elvis Sinisic, Vladimir Matyushenko.
That one's good.
And then Ken Shamrock.
Okay. And who was Chuck's wins?
Jeremy Horn.
Right.
Randy Couture, Babalu Sobral, and Tito Ortiz.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of the people that you just listed?
I'm admitting my failure right now because I should have those swapped.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell above Tito Ortiz.
Yes, you should. Because, like...
I must have not have been looking, like, carefully at level of competition.
Like, when you really get into, like, who... Tito's biggest things that he did, his biggest wins are, like, that fight that he didn't really win against Forrest Griffin.
And, by the way, he defeated Vanderlei Silva for the title. Tito did. I feel like that's a fight that's forgotten about.
What?
At UFC 225, Tito beats Vanderlei Silva.
225?
Sorry, UFC 25. In Tokyo, Japan.
I don't remember that fight. That's weird.
Told you. It's like the forgotten fight.
I don't remember what that looks like at all. I'm going to go back and watch it tonight. Anyway, continuing on. Yeah.
At number 1, I'm assuming that we both have John Jones.
Yeah, it's John Jones. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Pretty much welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight both have like their number 1 champion standing out. All right, moving on to heavyweight, the final division. Ben, who do you have at number 3?
I have Kane at number 3.
Hey, me too.
Yeah. It's the only sensible place to put him. I wanted to put Verdum above him, but I can't.
Yeah. Would you rank Verdum above him in like the all-time heavyweights? Well, I guess you were kind of looking at, you would put him above him?
It's so tough. Because, like, if you have a loss to him, then he should be above you. And if you tapped Fedor, you should get, like, a brownie point if it's close. Like, well, did you triangle Fedor? Yeah, that means that you should go up a notch against Kane. You know? Like, I mean, Kane's greatest achievement is, like, Lesnar. Right?
So Kane's greatest achievement, I would say, would probably be...
Czech Congo.
I would say probably just the beating that he put on JDS. Like that 5-round mauling. I would say that's his
second or the third
that's
one.
That's his
the
GSP
second or the
award.
third fight. He finishes the third one. He DDTs him in the third one.
I'm thinking the second one, where it's just 5 rounds of like pressure.
Yeah, horror.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have Kane as 3. He was champion twice. Defended his belt 2 times.
Yeah.
In his second run, first time he didn't. He only ran for 385 days and got knocked out by JDS. Coming in at number 2, I have Randy Couture.
Okay.
Who you got?
I got DC.
Okay.
I got Daniel Cormier.
This is just because of our structuring. Because, DC takes Randy Couture any day.
Well, and because of his stuff, and like he's the undefeated Strikeforce heavyweight champion. He won that Grand Prix.
Right.
And, yeah, he's never lost at heavyweight. He's Black Fedor.
Yeah, looking at it with
That's what they called him back whenever he was in Strikeforce. They're like,
They for real called
Black
him that?
Fedor, yeah. Because he
funny.
did the same kind of wingy stuff. He used a lot of wingy punches. And he's 5'11" and kind of tubby.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, now he's really. But like back in the day, he didn't look. You'd never seen him at 205, so his face didn't look wrong whenever he got fat.
Yeah. Yeah. It is funny how it does that. I had Randy at number 2 because he was champion a total of 3 times at heavyweight. And mainly like that Tim Sylvia performance when he's like, mid-40s?
Yeah.
And he just destroys him for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that was pretty iconic. And he'd like defend the title twice, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. A total of 3. No. Yeah, he defends it 3 times total, but it's not in the same reign. That's why Stipe's was so significant.
Yeah. My number 1 was Fedor.
Okay.
At heavyweight.
Okay, so you don't even have... So you have Kane above Stipe.
Yeah.
Okay. Because mine was Stipe at number 1. Because he defended the belt 3 times. Nobody else had done that.
I guess I should probably put Stipe over Kane. But it should probably be Stipe over Kane. I just feel like Kane was so dominant in what he did to people.
Right.
And Stipe will beat people, but it never is like, well, I don't know when this is going to end, but there's no chance from the moment that it starts and him getting him up against the cage that it doesn't just keep going this way into eternity. Like, I never feel that way with Stipe. Like, Stipe might get Stefan Struve. You know? Like, Kane coming up, there was never that, like, oh, yeah, well, there was this one time when he fought this 7-foot-tall Dutchman that just pieced him up.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, oh. But, I don't know. Yeah. You're probably right, though. Just on a resume. Stipe.
Gotcha. All right, well, that finishes that segment, and we've already gone for an hour and a half.
That's right.
Let's go ahead and close up with our predictions for the main event
of
UFC Fight Night 150, Jacare versus Hermanson.
And you were saying that the website said that Jacare is the favorite by 2-1. Bovada.
Right. Right now, the money line is -190 for Jacare and +160 for Hermanson.
I put some money on Hermanson, man. It should be like 50-50.
I really have that gut feeling of just like, don't sleep on Hermanson in this one. I feel like he's going to shock a lot of people and get it done. Now, I don't know if he finishes Jacare. I may get, well, it's 5 rounds, though.
It's not going to decision. Somebody's getting tapped.
I think Hermanson's going to do it to him. I really do.
Well, Hermanson might. Well,
see, Jacare's a level up from David Branch. Like, definitely.
Not definitely.
You don't think so?
Has Jacare fought Luke Rockhold?
Yeah, he lost to Luke Rockhold.
Yeah. David Branch knocked out Luke Rockhold. Hardcore.
That's true.
So, like, I mean, I feel like Jacare... I mean, he put him against Chris Camozzi. He's going to, like, style every time. Just be this unbeatable force, you know? Like, maybe if Hermanson gets sick and they need to call Camozzi, then, yeah, the plus 1 bajillion underdog that would be Camozzi for the 3rd time. Yeah, it's tough, man.
This one really is I feel like all the main events this year, I mean, especially getting more into it and having to, like, state your opinion publicly on a recorded podcast makes it even, like, more hard to choose.
I feel like...
Specifically this one, I'm like, I don't know, I feel like Hermanson is just going to... I feel like he's going to do it.
The less confident I am, the more it seems to come true. And my gut is like Hermanson. But I don't know. I mean, obviously you're not going to listen to this podcast and be like, well, I need to know where to put my money, Ben. But yeah, if I'm having to pick just straight up gun in my head, I'll pick Hermanson because of what he did coming off that Branch chaos. And looking at that highlight of him against the Thor's Hammer guy that's going to fight
Thiago Santos.
Jones, right?
Yeah, he lost that fight. He gets TKO'd in it.
Yeah, but like,
But doesn't he like piece him up before that?
well,
yeah.
I just remember the highlight of him. Like, there's a shot that he lands on him and knocks him up against the cage, where I thought that Hermanson was going to knock him out. Like, he hurts him bad. And when you told me, Hermanson loses that fight, I'm like, what? He lost that fight?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's insane. Yeah. But
all right, so we're both in agreement on Hermanson.
yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Underdogs again.
Underdogs again. All right, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of The Fight Addicts. Our goal is to always bring you high-quality MMA podcasts. If you feel like we did that today, please subscribe to us and leave us a 5-star review. Be sure to check out the blog at thefightAddicts.com and stay up to date with us by following at The Fight Addicts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.